Transmitting to you from Old Heart Radio.
Prepare to have your bones chilled and your hairs raised. It's the WacArnold's Brothers podcast.
Welcome home.
To thy
What's up?
Dude, like nobody else, like I do that to other people and like nobody gets it. Like I'm just like, I'll be like at work and I'll be like, oh, what's
People
like,
are probably like, what's wrong with
yeah,
this
they just
guy?
look at me like I'm fucking crazy. I'm like, whatever, man. This is, I don't know, this is actually the 15th episode of the
Yes, it
WacArnold's
is.
Brothers podcast.
So, before we jump into this, I just want to say really quick, I went and saw Candyman.
Oh, Jelly, I haven't
Dude,
seen it.
It is fucking awesome, man. It's
Yes.
like, I went into it with high expectations and it did not let me down. Like, it was, I'm not going to really say much to give anything away, but I will say this, like, it does a really good job because it builds off like some of the lore and some of the stuff that happened in the first movie while also building it was really well done.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, I highly recommend it.
I need to see that Candyman movie. The first Candyman, I remember seeing it when I was young and it scared the fuck out of me. Like,
Yeah.
Do you remember doing like you know, like there's like Bloody Mary and there's also like the Candyman thing that you do in like the bathroom or whatever.
Oh, of course.
You know, like that shit. Like, oh my god, dude. Yeah, and from my understanding, you kind of touched on it, but from my understanding, this is meant to be like, it's the same name as, you know, just Candyman, but it's meant to be a direct sequel to the original movie.
To only the first one. They like.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where they retcon the second and third ones were not that good.
No.
But yeah, it's like it even has like one of the characters from the first movie, and it also they talk about it, but like you'll see when you see it. Like I said, I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, it is. It's literally a direct continuation. It's like 20 years later or something.
That's fucking rad, dude. Like I think I'm stoked when they try to do something like that and then pull it off really well. The rumors have been for a really long time that's what they've been trying to do with the Alien franchise, where they want to basically like cut it after the events of Aliens and like erase, you know, 3 and Resurrection and just kind of like do a different storyline, which I think would be fucking rad.
Yeah,
but
of course.
But you know, it's like, it's also like one of like, you know, it can be really dicey to like a movie series if you like do that and then you just fuck it up. Like, I wonder if they're trying to pursue. Did you get the vibe that they're trying to pursue more Candyman?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. I'm excited to fucking check it out. Like, we're going right into that. We're starting that fall season, you know, coming up.
There's so many good movies coming out, man.
There's so much happening. It's like, I'm excited. But you know, you mentioned Candyman, this Candyman sequels. I was gonna joke. I was like, those are ones we might talk about on here if we ever, you know, those are like that level, like, but
yeah, for sure.
The movie that we picked this week was coming off of last week's Shockma.
Right.
Like, it was just, I don't know why, like the pairing of like ape horror movie to like child killer horror movie was just really great. So, you know, we sat down and we watched Mikey this week.
which like you said is like there's like a good subgenre of horror with like killer kid movies.
Yeah.
And this one, you know, I wouldn't necessarily, it has like horror elements. I'd say it's more of like a dark drama, like psychological horror with horror elements. It's not like Children of the Corn, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Like, I would say it's not like full on horror. You see some death, you know, some things happen, but it's like, it like tries to be suspenseful and it like toes that line where it doesn't get like super gruesome, but it does show some things. You know what I mean?
It does have some actors in it like that have Ben in horror because
Oh my god, dude! Yeah.
like Ashley Lawrence, the lady that plays Shawn, Ashley Lawrence, she was in Hellraiser.
As soon as she comes on the screen,
And,
she's one of those noticeable actresses. As soon as they pop on, like you're just like, wait, I've seen that face before.
Exactly. And then Lyman Ward, the guy that plays the principal, he's most well known for like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but he was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So there's a little bit of forward for. And then the kid that plays Mikey, Brian Bonsall, he is in I remember him from this 90s kid comedy called Blake Check.
Oh my
Remember
god,
that?
dude. That was him. I kept trying to pin his face the entire time, and I should have looked at I knew I should have looked at his fucking filmography. Like Blank Check. I was talking about that movie like a couple weeks ago to somebody. You know,
It's a classic.
It's a fucking ridiculous movie.
It's one of those. It's just like that would never happen.
Well, like you think about it, like not to get too sidetracked, but you think about Blank Check, and you're like, the kid writes himself a check, or he gets $1 million.
He gets it,
right?
yeah.
And he buys like a fucking go-kart track, like a fucking mansion, like a fucking water slide setup. Like, I'm just like, damn, dude, I wish that $1 million stretched that thin, like in reality.
Yeah, there's no way.
Anyway, so that's fucking wild, dude. I knew I recognized his face from something.
But yeah, anyway,
there was a handful of noticeable like you said, actors.
And then there's like the kid that plays Ben. He was in a bunch of shit, but he was like, remember in the beginning of Jurassic Park, where they're talking about like the Velociraptor. That's that kid, yeah.
Dude, that kid, another recognizable, like, just like because he has these like features, like he has these like
he's a goofy looking kid,
and stuff, and like he like that's exactly how I picked him out. Like I was like, I've seen that kid before too.
Yeah, he's a little different looking, but yeah.
So this, I find this movie, apparently it's quoted as coming out in 1992.
Yeah.
The runtime is somewhere around 92 minutes on Amazon, where I watched it. It had said 88 minutes, and me and Nadine were just fucking cracking up about it. It was like, it's barely an hour and a half long. Like, this has got to be like a fast fucking movie. I was like, and it does, dude. It kind of starts off like in this, like, you know, it just starts off in a situation, right? Like, the credits kind of going, and you know, it kind of leads almost into the first situation that you find Mikey in.
Right.
And it's like Mikey and like his current, or you don't know this necessarily right at the gate, but it's his like, you know, sister, or you know, adopted, or he's the adopted child, but he's this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so he's like lighting a fire or whatever in the fucking basement.
Right.
And you know, like new adopted mom comes down and like freaks out on him, like, what the hell are you doing, kind of status, you know.
Naturally, yeah,
because you're gonna burn the fucking house down.
Yeah,
but she gives Mikey a firm fucking slap across the bow in this scene, like,
definitely.
And you know, I'm not gonna deny it, man. He kind of deserved it, but at the same time though, there's this like quick interaction where like he tries to get his sister to take the blame, you know, and she like, it cuts to her and she's just like, no. She just like shakes her, like the way she shakes her head was really funny to me. There's like a fly buzzing around in here.
That's great.
A brundle fly.
That'd be cool. That'd be
fucking cool. But
except for the ass. But and the transformation. But anyway. But yeah, so like he's like, you know, obviously he's angry, but I think he takes his anger like a little too far.
Maybe, because he goes basically the next scene is like he goes upstairs and like I thought this was kind of funny. I was like, the daughter is just like immediately just like hanging out eating milk and cookies, and I was like, oh, what a great time she's having.
Yeah.
But Mikey like starts like to fuck with her right away, right? He blames her for not taking the blame, like says that the parents don't, like, you know, never punish her and they don't love him and all this stuff, like
right.
And then he basically takes the doll out to like kind of like runs around the pool side with it, and the girl starts chasing her. And And this was fucked up, dude, right out the gate. Like, he like has like they're like on this diving board setup, right? And
Yeah, he like because he throws the doll in the pool. He's like, I hope she can swim.
yeah. And then he bounces his sister right off the fucking diving board.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
It's like the first sign that something sinister is going on because he doesn't help her. Like she drowns to death. Like she can't swim, you know?
Yeah, that was gnarly. I just thought like that being the first death of the movie was pretty fucking gnarly, actually. I was like, damn, Mikey's drowning kids at 9 years old. But then he goes into the house, and this is like, I was tripping out about this. I was like, why would this mom, shortly after her son, like her adopted son was about to burn down, or just lighting a fire in the basement, why would she just go take a bath right after this? You know what I mean? And so Mikey finds her in the fucking bathtub, and like he starts fucking with her. You know, he's like dangling this hair dryer or hair blower or whatever, like just like right in like in front, like above the bathtub, and she's like, put it down, Mikey, all this stuff. And then he fucking just offs her. He electrocutes her. He
just throws it at her. He's like,
and she's like, and then like the thing starts smoking, and then she like sinks below the water. Dude, like, that was that was
and then the dad death is the best though, because he like spills some marbles on the floor, and then it's like, this came out 2 years after Home Alone, so you could tell that it was
I was just gonna say, all throughout this, you get this sort of like, I wonder like if they were influenced by Home Alone to some degree.
Like, especially this scene, because he like spills the marbles, and then his stepdad gets home, and he's like, hey, hey, slugger or something, and then
no, champ. That's right. He calls him champ.
Champ. That's right. Sorry, champ. And then
he's like,
I think this is the best scene, like one of the best scenes of the movie. So the stepdad sees, his daughter dead in the pool, and he goes to run, and he slips and trips on the marbles, and then like blasts the way through this like glass. He's like, it was pretty comedic, like the way he shot it. But then Mikey just goes full blown psycho and just bashes his head in with a bat.
Dude, like full.
So yeah, he just within like 3 minutes he's killed his whole entire foster family.
Yeah, it was like, and like I said, dude, like just coming right out the credits with all of that, like was pretty pretty intense. But they have to, in this movie, they really like in the time frame, they really, you could tell, needed to like start the movie off and like get the context there. And Mikey, like immediately after this, he basically, it's like the police, come to the house and investigate, and like they find the bodies and all this stuff. And then they find Mikey hiding in a closet, where they presume he's just he managed to escape or hide or whatever.
Right.
And like again, he just turns on that sweet like little kid charm where he's just like pretending to be completely scared and like traumatized. And it was just like, but
he's a sadistic little guy. Yeah,
he is, man. He's like, he's fucking psycho. Like right up, like he takes the time. He plays everything so well. Like he waits for the social worker to come out, and then he like hugs the social worker, and then turns around and gives this like completely fake description of a person to the police, like for them to look for. You know what I mean?
We forgot to mention too. While the scene was going on with his stepdad, he filmed the whole thing on a video camera. But yeah, you're right. He does like like you said, he gives this vague description, and then he like meets with the psychiatrist and who deems them like okay to be adopted or whatever.
Which is fucking nuts, dude. Like it's like the scene with the psychiatrist. Like he gives him like a toy, and it's like, do you know this person? And he's like, no. Or no, he doesn't say no. He says he grabs the toy and he's like, I hate him, and he like starts like going like, I hate him, and he like throws the toy and stuff. Yeah. And then right after that, the doctor's like, yeah, he's good. He needs to be put into a foster home.
I know. I thought that was pretty great too.
I was like, whoa, this guy. But he does. He gets Mikey gets placed into a
long story short, home. He gets adopted.
But there's this quick scene right before he gets adopted by the new family where they introduce this one-off character, and it's the sister of the mother that Mikey just murdered.
Right.
And the sister is super weirded out by him. You can tell, like Mikey's like staring at her while like through the window while he's swinging on the swing set, and she's like talking to the social worker, his caseworker or whatever, and she's just like, I don't want anything to do with him, you know.
Yeah, you can tell she is kind of like, yeah,
but
she doesn't want anything to do with him. She's like, yeah, there's no way in hell, like I'm adopting him. Yeah.
Well, and what was smart about this movie, I think, in kind of like reflecting like on that, you know, whole intro, if there's like right out the gate, Mikey's a psycho, is that like if you flip it and you say, if you didn't have those scenes, you could play like the full half of this movie where you think Mikey's like, you know, a good kid or whatever, and everybody just fucking hates him for some reason.
Which is like normally how these movies would kind of be. So I thought it was,
No, yeah. So, I think you were just gonna say you thought it was like, did you like that aspect of it?
Yeah, I did, for sure. Where it's like you see that like he's fucking insane, you know. But these other people don't, because he's so good at playing that role of I'm just a kid, you know. Like I couldn't do something like that. A kid's not gonna kill his family, you know.
Exactly, and yeah. So I thought it was really interesting because, like you noted, like so many other movies seem to have done this like similar type of story.
Yeah, like The Stepfather.
But they've done it in that really almost like stereotypical way now. And so this was kind of like a unique way of going about it. But so eventually Mikey gets put in with his new family. They pick him up at the airport with like gifts and all this stuff, riding up like the slowest escalator in the world.
Right. And he like puts on the charm immediately, you know, and he gets adopted by the Trentons. So we got Rachel and Neil here, who at some point in the movie it's explained that they tried to have kids but they couldn't. So this is why they adopted Mikey.
Yeah, and you know, they come back, they bring him back to their house, and then that's when he gets introduced to the neighbors. I can't remember the mom's name, but Ben.
It never says the mom's name.
Yeah, I think they just kind of call her mom. They introduce her as the neighbor, and then they introduce Ben right away. So
who's like he's gonna be in Mikey's class, and he's the next door neighbor.
Yeah, which is a smart move, you know. But you know, they instantly go up to check out, you know, Mikey's new room, and you know, they seem to pal up. They give each other Ben and Mikey give each other the high five right away. Yeah. But again, like, you know, you see him being kind of normal, and this is like under this whole scene, you're just like, dude, what's this kid fucking planning already? You know,
you also get introduced to Sean, who's like his mom's best friend. I mean, Rachel's best friend, and she's gonna be like his teacher. And even at first, she's like, "Oh, he seems like a great kid," you know.
Yeah, and Sean, like you mentioned, that's played by Ashley Lawrence. And that's kind of it. It's like, you know, it's interesting, like the circle they kind of quickly build around Mikey. So it's like, you know, his friends in his class, his teachers, his mom's best friend, like all this stuff. So it's like all interconnected. So, you know, if he does anything to one person, it's gonna go around fast. It feels like.
And then there's like a couple quick scenes. You know, there's like a scene in the classroom where he learns the marble game. And then there's a scene where they're walking home from school, and they take a shortcut through the cemetery, and Mikey tries to scare Ben, and he has this really great line where after he like scares him, you know, he says dead people aren't the ones to be scared of, living people are.
Yeah.
Like, how ominous is that?
Well, because and you know, like the setup for that line, like you said, he's trying to scare Ben as they cut through the cemetery, and he disappears on him. And then his buddy Ben finds him like Mikey laying down like an open grave, or not an open grave, but like a freshly dug or a freshly packed grave.
Yeah.
And he like, you know, then he scares him by like, you know, popping his eyes open and dropping that line. And then
there's like, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and isn't this like, there's also this sequence where him and Neil, the new dad or whatever, they go to do like practice archery or whatever. Is that in this sort of similar sequence? Like kind of like there's like him kind of getting like it's like a hodgepodge of things. Like there's like also like, you know, you get introduced to the fish tank that has like,
right
all about and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's like she like makes aquariums and stuff. But yeah, there's like some father bonding, and then there's also another school scene where he tries to cheat with the marble game, and this is the first time that Sean sees him doing something, and she's like, it's not good to cheat.
Yeah, and she's really like, out of everybody, she's kind of the first to start suspecting that Mikey might be like in need of some extra attention, we'll say.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because I like that, like, they portrayed that in this way where it wasn't, I don't know, they weren't like immediately breathing down the neck of like, okay, I bet this kid's a fucking psycho. Like they at first, they see this behavior and she kind of tries to like gently correct it. Next kind of big thing that you see in terms of like maybe like a sign would be like the another classroom sequence where he is drawing. They're all drawing, and he draws like that. Turkey beheading a pilgrim, which is a cool try.
It was, and then like you said, this happened before this though. There's like more like bonding scenes. There's like a scene where they're at a park and he returns a purse. So up until this point, like Rachel and Neil are really like infatuated with him. They think he's like this perfect angel, but yeah, like you said, there's this classroom scene and they find this picture that he drew.
Well, and that's the dynamic that they kind of keep going on with for a while in this movie, where it's like Mikey will be sort of like acting out and like acting suspicious to other people, but then he goes home and completely like convinces his new parents that he's like the best child in the world.
Right.
And you see a lot of that back and forth dynamic, like because there's all like you're saying, all those bonding things, like they go into the zoo and whatnot. And,
But what's cool with the picture, she finds the picture and she takes it to the principal, who's, how we mentioned, Mr. Jenkins, who's played by Lyman Ward, and she like this early into the movie, she already thinks that like he might have unattached syndrome, a psychotic behavior. And she talks to the principal, and he's like, well, it's just a picture, like come to me if something else happens.
But I like that, and I don't know, maybe I'm like over romanticizing it, but I like that they showed that almost like kind of like process where it's like teachers kind of noticing things about their students, and then like bringing it up so it's not just like them, and now it's like more people have eyes on the situation.
Because there is like, it's quickly after that the principal also, there's like a scene at school where they're playing some sort of sport, and Mikey doesn't want to take his shirt off, so the principal's talking with him, and he explains that like his real mom and dad were bad, but then there's like a creepy where he sees like a skeleton and he's fascinated by it, and he's like, who was this person, like how did they die, and all this creepy shit.
Well, and that's like dude, it was like in that conversation he's like having a different conversation, then he just stops, like he gets asked a question, he stops, and then he just pivots over to that skeleton. So weird. He was like, but and I thought at the time it was like a really strange thing to focus in on for the movie. But I see, after the end of all of it, you see why.
Right.
But yeah, like he definitely, like, I don't know, he just he starts showing just weird signs, like just off behavior.
Because then we get introduced to the next like kind of main character in the movie.
Which is Jessie, right? That's her name.
Right. Yeah. Ben's older sister. Yeah.
Yeah, which early on, like Mikey sees like a picture of her or whatever, and like asks Ben about it, like why is your sister away or something like that, and then eventually she maybe is coming back home from college for the weekend or from school. I don't know. That's how they explain it, is that she like is away at school because she got in trouble when she was younger or something. It's vague. Yeah, it's very vague. But Mikey immediately starts like obsessing about her, right? Like they like she gets to the place.
This is a cool scene too.
And like it reminded me of Sandlot in a lot of ways. Jessie walks in the front door of her parents' house, and Ben's like, oh my god, you gotta help, like he hasn't been breathing, and it's Mikey laying on the ground. And Jessie starts freaking out, like, oh my god, like what the fuck, like what's happening, like and she starts giving Mikey mouth to mouth. And eventually another one of those like close-up shots of Mikey just like opening his eyes.
Yeah.
Like she's giving him mouth to mouth, nothing's happening. She's like, Ben, how long has he been like this? And then Mikey's like, bah! And he opens his eyes and he's like, and then but the weirdest thing, like Jessie, I guess maybe not weird, but like she tries to play it off pretty cool.
Yeah.
She doesn't make it like she's not super like freaked out or creeped out, because this is just like this is a 9-year-old kid, right? She's like, he's just fucking around, probably being a weirdo. But she compliments him. She's like, "You're a good kisser, Mikey."
Right. and he like, yeah, he has this like coy smile on his face.
Yeah, he definitely took that one to heart. He was like,
There's something else to note here, because when she first runs up, she's like, "Well, how did he do that? Like, he didn't have a pulse." And Mikey explains that saw this thing on TV or on a movie or whatever, where if you put he had like a ball underneath his arm, so it made it seem like he didn't have a pulse.
Yeah.
What's like a 9-year-old kid doing that? That's a sign right there.
Yeah. Well, for real though, dude. It's like, what is this kid about? Man, but yeah, from there it just gets kind of like, it's like kind of progressively. I'd say like the rest of the movie sort of jumps between like scenes of like classroom things and scenes of like him trying to interact with Jessie.
Because
you find out like shortly after this interaction that Jessie has a boyfriend that she like was like waiting for her upstairs or whatever.
Right.
But the boys.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say the boys like Ben and fucking Mikey are like. They immediately like especially Mikey helps carry her bags up and like
right.
Like, is there anything else I can do for you? And like he just really starts like laying it on.
We get introduced to David, and then the next scene is it's nighttime, and this is like another first scene where you see how creepy Mikey really is, because he fucking sneaks into Jessie's room at night when she's sleeping, and like she like wakes up and hears something, and he's hiding under the bed. He doesn't get caught, but like it's pretty creepy.
Yeah, and it's like a series of fucking creep things that he does.
And then he feeds their frog to his fish. Like
like what a little fuck.
I know.
And that's because, and like early on, like that's like the whole fish tank thing. Like he gets really attached to these baby fish that are in there that are separated from the fish that he feeds the frog to.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know, like it's just like there's all these different like small things that just like stack up all throughout this movie until.
Yeah, and like because at this point Sean's like kind of weary of Mikey, and she's trying to do some like investigating, because there's a line where he mentions that he won like a spelling bee. So she calls the other school and is trying to get like files sent over. So she's doing some investigating, and then there's more scenes like Jessie and Mikey go out on a paddle boat and like have a little like afternoon fun.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's like you're just building up. Like it's interesting because you're building up all those things where it's like, yeah, Mikey, like in the paddleboat scene, he's like still trying to like pretend to be like all cute and cutesy with Jessie.
Right.
Like you mentioned, like with Sean finding out that at least he used to go to school in Oklahoma. She tries to get a hold of like a teacher.
Oh yeah.
He was really wary of like giving her any information about the last family's tragedy.
Yeah, she finds out that the family was murdered. That's right.
Yeah. And it's like interesting because at this point in the movie, like you mentioned earlier, where the scene where Mikey he wants to wear a shirt. He doesn't want to be a skin, when the coach was picking like shirts and skins for that game, and that his parents were bad. And so you start thinking like a little bit like, man, I wonder what happened, like what's up with Mikey that maybe caused him to go this route or whatever.
Yeah, because I never, there's nothing that shows that. So it's a good question.
And so you like in this weird way, you're sort of like, you are kind of like, because he's a kid. It's only because he's a kid that you're sort of like, damn, like, what's causing this behavior, Mikey?
Right, because I don't like, as much as he's shown being a psycho, I don't think that he was just inherently like this evil kid. There's obviously he went through some traumatic stuff, but that at the same time doesn't give him a pass to fucking murder people. But either way.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit after the boat sequence, we have another sequence where Mikey sneaks out at night, and basically at first I think he sees Jesse.
He records
recording
her.
Jesse undressing or whatever, which is really creepy. And then he sees
really quick though. Before this, there's this sequence where Mikey's in his bed, and he's watching the footage of him
that's right,
killing his stepdad. And Neil comes in. Neil's like, "What are you watching?" And he's like, "Just a horror movie."
A horror movie.
What a psycho!
Little dude, you just made a fucking snuff film. But
yeah,
yeah, dude, that's right. And that's also, that is one of the creepiest things about his character, is that he's recording all of these fucked up things that he's doing. Right. And so he just has this camera roll with all these fucked up behaviors and murders and shit on there.
Yeah. Which like you said, he's filming her.
He's filming her undressing. He finds that her her boyfriend's over, David's over, and that obviously sets Mikey off.
Yeah.
So he sneaks out and throws a fucking rock through their window.
Because they were it shows her taking they're about to fuck.
Dude.
So
they're about to fuck.
So he throws a rock through the window shit.
Yeah. And so David, in machismo mode, he's like, I'm gonna get whoever did that. Starts running out and pisses off Jesse. And they don't find Mikey because Mikey's hiding in the bushes, recording everything still.
Yes.
And on the way out, when her boyfriend was running across the driveway, he accidentally almost kicks her cat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important because shortly after they go inside, it shows Mikey in the bushes holding the cat.
Yeah.
And snaps the fucking cat's neck.
Oh man. Yeah, you just hear the crack.
Yeah, dude. I was like, the fuck, man.
Okay, killing people is one thing,
That
but killing fucking harmless animals, that's it, true psychotic behavior.
I agree, man. That's, truly, it's one of the first noticeable detectable things that you can see from people. It's this harm animals before they move on to their next things. But
he does do something kind of clever though, because David and Jesse are back up in the room, and he the mood is killed. He's still trying to,
he tries real hard.
Yeah. She's basically not gonna happen, bud. You should just leave.
Yeah, he pulls out a bottle of liquor at one point.
Yeah.
he's like, this'll put you in the mood. It's like an already opened bottle of booze and everything. Somebody else had been drinking off of it. She's just like, nope.
But yeah, so he comes back downstairs and starts his car, and Mikey had put the body of the dead cat underneath the fucking wheel.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Dude, he's trying to put that divide right there, and he knows exactly what that'll do.
And it works.
It works. Yeah, because Jesse freaks out, tells David to get the hell out of there,
Yeah.
And then, for Mikey, he's just yes, this is now I have Jesse all to myself.
Well, right. And like you said, he filmed the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
this guy, I think the next kind of major thing is another school sequence where
yes
where they're in class and they're reading from their books, and Mikey, instead of reading, he's taking a thumbtack and pricking his arm over and over again
while looking at the picture of Jesse that he stole from their house.
Yeah. And Sean notices this and calls him up to the desk, and it kind of cuts to her discovering his arm to her and the principal and the parents, Neil and Rachel, sitting down, and them finally all four of them having the discussion about Mikey. There might be something fucking wrong.
Yeah, but it doesn't go typically it doesn't go the way you think, because Sean makes all these points that he might be a psycho, and Rachel just doesn't want to hear it. And she eventually gets to the point where she's like, why can't you just be happy for me, Sean? Accusing Sean of being jealous.
Yeah.
So they leave. They're don't listen to it. They leave, and they're like, well, Mikey's fine, we haven't seen anything, because they really haven't yet.
Yeah.
But then like basically right after that happens, like it shows the next scene where Mikey's upset because she got rid of the baby fish. You know, they were ready to go to their house, and he's like visibly upset. And he even says the line it's like a line that he says at the beginning of the movie where he's like, well, why don't you love me, all this stuff.
Yeah, and that becomes like as soon as that kind of happened, that's when I sort of figured, I was like, all right, now, his new parents are kind of on his shit list.
Right. Yeah.
And that seems to be his thing, right? Mikey wants all the attention, or nobody gets it. and then so, he freaks out, and so then he that's kind of when he there's like another bathtub sequence in this movie.
Yeah, and it's pretty like you're not sure because she's in the bath and he comes in with flowers and she's obviously like, well, why didn't you knock? And then he picks up he has a really great line here because he picks up like a hair straightener and he's toying with it, and he's like, if I threw these in the bathtub, it would kind of work like an electric chair. And Rachel's like, be a good boy and unplug it. And he does, because I thought that he was going to kill her here.
Yeah, I mean, but there was a little bit of tension there because he's like sitting there and he's like opening and closing the hair thing, like snapping it open and close, and then like eventually he unplugs it, and you're just like, damn, dude, like I really did think that might have been it. But then foolishly, I thought like, okay, they're not going to do the same type of death twice in this movie. So like that makes sense. Like, so like, after she survived, I was like, that makes sense. Boy, was I wrong.
Right. Cause like there's another like scene where we see it's David and Jesse reconcile. They make up.
And they're like outside in the back, like the back area of, Jesse and Ben's house.
Well, yeah, this is like later that night. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. So first when they reconcile, it's like at the house or whatever, right?
Because while this is going on, Sean is doing more like research,
Yeah. She's like pulling up old news articles and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so now it's like the nighttime, and David and Jesse are kind of fooling around in the hot tub, and Mikey is seeing this, and he's also recording it, and he's like visibly upset. So we're like, shit, something's about to happen.
Yeah, and so he, in this really creepy way, he basically, so he sets up this elaborate thing, right, where he calls Jesse's phone, phone, and leaves the video of his snuff film basically playing.
Yeah.
While she like runs in to pick it up. Then Mikey sneaks around to the back where David's just like hanging out, waiting for company and some beers, and like he starts like interacting with David, and like you can tell there's the stereo right at the end of the hot tub.
How stupid, how
dumb. But at the same time, like I just said, like I was like, we just avoided the same type of murder sequence. So I was like, they're not gonna do that again. I was like, what's he gonna do? How's he gonna kill him?
But no.
That's how this whole thing. Mikey kicks the fucking stereo into the hot tub.
Right.
Zapped, dude. Like zapped.
That'd be a fucked up way to die. Like
it would.
Whether it was like in the bathtub or in a hot tub, like. Fuck. But yeah, he kills David, and then like he runs off, and Jesse finds the dead body, and Mikey filmed this whole thing.
Yeah, man. And that again, like just Mikey and his fucking camera, man. And so yeah, Jesse finds the body, freaks out, and then like the next day it's kind of everybody started discovering it. Like Ben and Mikey are staying home that day, because of all the events and whatnot. And like that's where Mikey
this is like a convergence of a couple things that happened, because Sean is like talking to the detective from earlier.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So she gets him the facts, the police reports, and then like while she's waiting for the facts, Mr. Jenkins gets a phone call, and he explains to her like Ben and Mikey aren't going to be here today. Jesse's boyfriend like had an accident, was electrocuted to death. So they know that like something about an electrocution what comes into play in a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, you're right. Like, so the next thing that basically just kind of like the next Jesse and Mikey scene sort of happens when like Sean's waiting for those reports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's basically just like a really weird sequence where, you know, Mikey tries to comfort Jesse over her recent loss that he caused, and
says some creepy shit.
Yeah, dude, definitely says some creepy shit. Well, I think one of them was something like, well, now you can like love me, or like only me, or something like that.
Yeah. But before that, he's like, maybe it wasn't an accident. Maybe he was being punished.
Yeah, dude. And it's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, there's just like this immediate sinister vibe to what he's saying.
Yeah, but then you're right. He does say like, well, now you can just love me. You know?
And I think that was like a culmination of all those things, and like the recent like tragedy. Like that's when Jesse's like, all right, little dude, like you need to fuck off. Like, like we're not,
like we're done.
Yeah, we're not like a thing.
And she even tries to talk to Rachel, you know, like about how
because because not only was it those weird comments, but Mikey left behind one of the roses that David had given her the night before.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right. And that prompts her to go talk to Rachel, like where she like goes over to their house and it's like, listen, like there's something fucking wrong with Mikey. Yeah,
she's like, he's dangerous, you know. And Rachel, like, again, at this point, like, isn't having it, you know. She's like, she mentioned something like, well, me and Neil will discuss it with them later. And Mikey is seen listening to this. And this is the point where, you know, because at the beginning of the movie, one of the things where after he like lights the fire, the stepmom's like, well, we'll discuss your punishment when your dad gets home. So like, this is kind of like, she kind of almost said the same thing. So this is where, you know, like, oh, fuck. Exactly. Like he's about to go full blown psycho.
Exactly. And, you know, like it, yeah. And I mean, it definitely comes to that. So like, basically, after Jesse leaves leaves Rachel, and after trying to warn her, I believe that's kind of when Sean gets her facts from the other school or the detective talking about like the murders and some of the details of the other family's demise, including the electrocution.
Yes,
that immediately triggers her.
Mm-hmm. And she runs off and she meets up with Jenkins, and and then another thing is like Mikey's shown taking the phone in his room off the hook. So Sean tries calling the house and it's a busy signal. So her and Mr. Jenkins are like in hot pursuit to go warn Rachel.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, where it cuts to Rachel hears like some like screams or whatever back at their house. Hears some screams from the other room that you know, and then finds Mikey in a super creepy like way, just sitting there watching his murder movie that he's been making with a fucking hammer sitting in front of him. He's watching him killing David, and before she realizes there's a great line before she realizes what he's watching, she's like, "What are you watching?" And he goes, "Watching Mikey's funniest home videos." Like, that was great. Yeah, dude. Well, and again, like that kid's delivery, like he nailed this like weird cutesy like kid thing where it's like Mikey's funniest home videos. Like, you know, and you're just like, God.
And then he's also like, it's pretty funny, huh?
Yeah. God, dude.
But yeah, and then this whole scene happens. Like he initially hits her with the hammer. She goes to get ice. He hits her again. She like pushes him away. She runs up to her room.
Well, like it's like a whole thing. Like so Mikey smashes her hand, right? And then when he gets her again, he does it with the fucking like hook side of the hammer.
Yeah.
He like hooks her fucking arm, and I was just like, what a little shit. Like that would fucking hurt so goddamn bad. But you're right. Like so she runs up to her room, like locks the door, and is like, you know, like thinking she's fucking safe for a little bit. There's like a second where Mikey maybe jiggles the handle, and then he just goes around to the fucking balcony and like smashes the door open and like walks on in. And I kept thinking, like, as soon as he did that, why didn't she just turn the fuck around and go out the door? I mean, eventually she did, but like I was like, why are you waiting? Why are you waiting? Why are you waiting? Why are you waiting? Just go.
No shit. Because at this point he picks up a fucking shard of broken glass
and starts going at her, dude.
And there's a cool scene where he stabs her, and they like both fall through like the upper the upper part of
they go through like that banister or whatever.
That's the word I was looking for. The banister and like, fall on the stairs, and this leads right into Sean and Mr. Jenkins coming in and seeing him, and it's Mikey. It's not shown, but like here Mikey's doing that ball trick again because Mr. Jenkins checks his pulse and thinks that they're both dead.
Also, this happened really earlier in the movie that we kind of forgot to mention. It was a super out of place scene where Rachel and Sean are at the fucking shopping mall, and Rachel decides to use this opportunity to give Sean her handgun in the middle of the shopping mall. and so fast forward back to where we're at in the movie, Sean has this handgun with her.
Right.
You know, just in case. But you're right, dude. Like it was a really interesting, like that sequence, the falling sequence, and then like the shot of Mikey like laying over top of Rachel's body, like both of them like really all still and stuff. It was, that could have potentially been the end there, but Mikey wasn't done. So,
right.
So anyway, it's like Jenkins and Sean go back outside the house, and like Jenkins is like, why don't you wait here and I'll go like double check the scene and stuff like that.
Well, he's like I'll go call the police.
Yeah. Basically, he's just like, it's your best friend. Like, you probably don't want to be in there, kind of thing. I think he's trying to be a good guy. That's all.
He was, but
he doesn't work out too well.
Poor guy. It shows him like try to use the phone, but while he's trying to use the phone, that's still not working. He sets the gun down, and it shows like Mikey like take the bullets out of the gun. Then Mr. Jenkins discovers his body's not there, and then Mikey just.
I want to say the special makeup, the makeup that they did for Rachel's wound in that scene where it's like the huge glass chunk like coming out of her throat, and like it looked pretty gnarly. It was a pretty good little piece of like makeup.
I agree completely, because there's not much of that,
Yeah, not much in this movie, so I just wanted to shout that out.
But yeah, so Mikey pops out with, because like we said, there's like a scene earlier where there's father-son bonding, and he shoots an arrow, and he's like really good at it. So yeah, he kills Jenkins with the fucking bow and arrow.
Yeah, so Jenkins picks up his gun, and you can tell like he picks it up and he's like, he double checks it at first. He's like, all right, whatever. And then he like, shrugs it off because he like, and because you probably, realistically, you probably feel the weight difference if there weren't any bullets in there. Yeah. And so it's like, and so anyway, so like, well, and that's what I mean. It was like maybe he like felt that or whatever. But like Mikey just at the end of the fucking hallway with the bow and arrow. I was just like
where the hell did he get that? Exactly.
I was like, one, where was that? And two, this is exactly why you should have never introduced him to that fucking activity.
No shit.
Because he puts a huge like a fucking huge arrow through this dude. Like, so he shoots Jenkins, and at one point when Jenkins turns sideways, the arrow has gone all the way through him basically. So it's like jutting out. It's like at least 1.5 feet long looking. Like, I was like, this kid's got some upper body strength.
Yeah, no shit.
But anyway, so he fucking kills Jenkins that way, which I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for like, I was just like, there's no way that they were going to introduce the whole bow and arrow thing without a bow and arrow death.
That's a good, I guess you're right. And then Sean like hears that, and she comes in, and then instantly like Mikey shoots her, tries shooting her with
marbles, dude, his slingshot.
Yeah. And the first one misses and breaks a.
And he has this line. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something like, It was something like Mikey being like, "I want you to show me how to be dead," or something like that.
No, he goes. So he shoots her with the first marble, and then he pulls out a bigger marble, and he's like, "I want you to teach me one thing." And she goes, "Yeah, what?" And he goes, "How to die." And then it kills her with this giant fucking marble.
Dude, Mikey's cutthroat, man. Yeah,
and then it shows
her with the fucking marble, dude.
And then it shows Mikey like turning all the stove tops on, and he gets a call from Neil, and Neil's like, "Hey, like, where's your mom?" And he's like, "Oh, she's not feeling well." And Neil's like, "All right, well, I'll be home in a little bit."
Oh yeah, and side note, the entire time that they've had this boy, Neil started calling him Chief.
Yeah. Hey, Chief.
Hey, Chief, I'll be home in a little bit.
But before Neil gets home, Mikey initially tries to go reconcile with Jesse.
Yeah,
you know?
There's like a little sequence where he's like slicking back his hair and getting all like done up. Dude, it was like...
But he goes to the door and she's not having it, so he sneaks in her window again, and he's like, says some creepy shit like, "Why don't you like me anymore?" Like yada yada yada. And she kicks him out again, right? And then this is what I thought was funny. So she kicks him out of her room, and then not even 10 seconds later, she hears he turns on a movie downstairs, and she instantly runs downstairs. I'm like, exactly. What the fuck?
Exactly. He's down there. There's nobody else here. But also just completely random side note, the TV, when she goes downstairs to investigate, the TV is sitting on this kitchen counter, facing this hallway. And I was just kept thinking, I was like, why would the family put a TV there?
Yeah, it was an odd placement for the TV.
I was like, anyway, it was just super stupid. I was just like, why is that there? Anyway, but it's like another, it's like the war kind of stuff that they were watching. That was, earlier in the movie they had been watching, and so she goes down there and oh my god, what happens to Jesse?
Nothing happens downstairs, but she goes back upstairs to her room, and on her door is the picture that Mikey had taken of her, and then Mikey had cut out a picture of himself and put it on the picture, and then he pops up and he tries shooting her with an arrow, but she makes it into her room, and the arrow misses her, and I thought that he was going to continue to try to kill her, but he doesn't. He ends up going home, and then Neil shows up, and now we're reaching the end of the movie. This whole next part.
Yeah, dude. So that whole sequence, you're right. His sort of hack job Photoshop, his 90s Photoshop is what that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mikey sneaks back over to the other house and just comes walking out of the darkness of the garage or whatever when Neil gets there, and he's just like, hey, and it's kind
of like a repeat of the scene from the first part of the movie, because he's like, what have you been doing today, Chief, or whatever, and he's like, nothing, just waiting for you. Yeah, and he says it in the cute voice,
yeah, which is so wild, because it's that shows you how he just turns this on off and on so at will.
He's a psycho.
Yeah, and but yeah, so Jesse, she sees Neil and him interacting, and I thought this was just such a strange scene, whereas she's over, at the window trying to wave him down, and then just taktakes forever, and then finally as they're walking in, she decides all right, now I'm gonna open the window.
Because he sees her waving, it's he says some line about isn't she beautiful or something.
Yeah that's right, and Mikey's like,
But yeah, so then we go inside, and we're nearing the end of the movie here, so Neil sits down next to the phone but doesn't see blood
the
on
bloody
the phone.
handprint.
And then you can see behind him, you can see Jenkins' dead body with the arrow through it. And they have a little small talk. And then Mikey's like, hey, I want to show you something.
Mm-hmm. And then Mikey brings him,
lures him to
into the darkened dining room, where you see, at first, fairly shadowy, but you can kind of tell, you see Jenkins' body, you see Rachel's body with the glass shard still in the neck. and you see Sean's body kind of in the shadows, as well as that skeleton, which you have no idea how that got there, but it's there.
And at first I was like, why? Like, it makes sense, like, in just a minute, but you're like, why the fuck is the skeleton there?
Totally, dude. I was just, I was like, I was right there. I was like, why the fuck is that there? Like,
and how did he get it there? Like, how did he get it up to school? The bow and arrow is one thing, but how the fuck did he get so illogical? Like, okay.
So fucking wild. Oh my God. But so he lures him in there, and Neil has like one of the best slow reactions. He's like, rah, 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 rah.
He's like, ooh, ooh.
Face, dude,
and then it's and then it shows Mikey off screen with a fucking this is one of the best parts of the movie.
God,
the Molotov cocktail, and he throws it, and of course, in like 90s movie fashion, the house just blows into like a million pieces.
such a huge explosion. Just total destruction.
Just like, of course.
It was just, it was like perfect. It was peak 90s explosion.
It's like, there's so many, like, we've already done a couple movies with like Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, where the car hilariously explodes. Like, why was that such like a fucking thing? Like,
right? That's why The Simpsons, I think, ended up making fun of it. You know, like, it's like,
true.
But so the house explodes, and when like the aftermath of this explosion, this whole sequence, you know, there's like paramedics and firefighters and police all at the scene. You know, there's like Jessie, who's like on a gurney. She survived and like she's been comforted or whatever. But you know, there's like talk between some of the officers, and they sort of specify that there were like, you know, the adult bodies that they found, as well as what appeared to be the skeletal remains of a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, they're like, there was a gas leak and like all these bodies, and then Jesse's like, well, what about Mikey? And that's when like now you know what the skeleton was, because like you said, the police officer's like, well, or the firefighter's like, well, we found the skeletal remains of a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, and there was like, at that moment, you're like, God damn, the brilliance of that fucking, like, that kid there doing that. But you're also like, shit, whoa.
And then the movie just ends so perfectly. Like,
yeah, so it kind of cuts, you know, and it goes to this, let's just say a new, social worker or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, talking to this potential like new couple about you know, adoption and like a child or whatever. And then they, you know, make this mention like, well, you know, we've been praying, you know, for a kid for a really long time. And, you know, like, they seem like very religious folk, which seems like the opposite of what Mikey might be.
Right.
But you know, it's like this great sequence where it's like the social worker basically just is like, do you want to, like, opens the door and it's just like, you want to come in and meet your new family, to this kid who's waiting out there for him. And then Mikey just kind of slowly walks in with his like kid, like, you know, his head a little tilted and a smile on his face, like, are you my new mom and dad, or whatever he says. Like, what was his last
but
line?
That was the line. Yeah. Are you going to be my new mommy and daddy? But I love how the social worker like explains the situation. So he's like, oh, we found this kid, this young boy wandering on the side of the freeway, and he had no idea what happened. He has amnesia, so he doesn't really remember, you know, some of his past lives. So you guys are going to have to be patient. Like, but we think that Josh is going to be a great kid.
Josh, that's right, Josh. Oh my God, dude. Yeah, I love it. The classic amnesia backstory.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the movie just ends, like you said, with that line where, like, uh-oh.
Like, they totally... I will say, this movie was really fucking, like, fun to watch. It's
entertaining. Yeah.
It's entertaining. It's just really entertaining. But it's also... It has those creep elements, man. Like Mikey, that kid did give a really good performance in that, like... weird, like sinister, like kind kid sort of fucking way. It was just like, I don't know, it got me a little bit.
There's something about like children horror movies, because like it's one thing if it's like this just like mindless slasher or even older people, but like I don't know, man, something is just diabolical about a kid that at that age is like so cold-hearted that he can just kill and then flip this switch and be jovial. Like it's just sinister.
So you mentioned that this movie came out a little while after Home Alone, right? But this movie predates another notable like creepy kid movie to me, The Good Son. With Elijah Wood.
That's a classic. Yeah.
And fucking Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, that's a classic.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Mikey had come out and kind of hit on somebody's radar, like this like general idea of like creepy kid, kind of helped push that, like, probably led to The Good Son being produced a little bit more, because this had some like trace elements of like what you'd see in something like that, and that would be like probably the most popular version
for
of this
sure
type of story. But Mikey, man, dude, like I can't believe that was the kid from Blank Check to be one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he was I guess he's like most famously known for being in the sitcom Family Ties, which is like before my time, but
I mean, I'm familiar with Family Ties for sure.
I've seen like reruns, but
exactly, it was all syndicated or whatever back when you were probably young. But yeah, dude, that, I mean, it was just one of those, like, I think I mentioned it, but like, it's when you're scrolling through trying to look at stuff, for us to like some fodder for our podcast here, like that struck out so like immediately, like 1992 killer kid moving from like family to family. Like, it was a gem. I definitely enjoyed this one. I'd give it 4 marbles out of 6 marbles.
All right. I'd give it 3.5 classroom skeletons out of 6. Like how that's okay. Out of all like potential plot holes or like things that don't make sense, like there's no way, dude. Because he would have had to have like literally like walked home from school with it and not gotten caught at all. Like there's no way.
Exactly. I'm just dumbfounded as to how it ended up there. Maybe it was in the back of Jenkins' car or something like.
I don't know.
I don't fucking know.
I'm not gonna worry my head thinking about it anymore. But yeah,
it's not worth beating the brain over. Oh man, yeah. I would definitely suggest it. It's streaming on Amazon right now. I think that's probably the only place. But if you have that, you should hot dogs. You should hop on and watch Mikey, because it's fucking enjoyable.
Also, if you go see Candyman.
Go see Candyman. It's important to go see in horror movies and like to put like money into those horror movies as consumers, because we don't get enough of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't get enough good horror still popping up in theaters these days.
There's 3 movies coming out soon that I'm really looking forward to. There's Malignant.
Oh yeah. Last
Night in Soho. Oh. I haven't been to, like, Edgar Wright is directing it, and like I wasn't a big fan of Shaun of the Dead, but he has some good movies like Baby Driver and
for sure.
But anyway, this movie looks phenomenal. And then last but not least, I can't wait for Halloween Kills.
Dude, yeah, cannot wait. It's gonna it's that combined with Candyman, like it's a good string of like horror movies, coming out. So yeah, go support them as well as supporting this damn podcast.
Yeah, tell people, go tell everyone to listen. Try to get. I don't look at the numbers. I have no idea. It could be one person listening, but hey, thank you for listening.
No, yeah, dude, and that's my buddy Lucas, who I do Matinee Edition with. He started this idea, and I kind of like it. Yeah, if you know somebody that's interested in the Candyman movie, tell them to listen to Old Heart Radio.
There you go.
There you go. All right, so I think that's about it for episode 15. We'll have to
15.
15. What's all?
What's up? God damn it.
Bye, hot dogs.